Greetings, goths, punks, metalheads, herberts, herbetters, Martians and subterranean folk and cosmic groovers, and buenos dias, amigos. So today's going to be an indoor video, and I'm going to talk about a few points about goth which I've noticed over the last year or two cropping up on the internet. So we'll go into those. So first of all, I just want to say, these are just my personal views and my observations. They're not the gospel, so I just wanted to make that clear. So first of all, I wanted to address something that I've seen coming up quite a few times, especially on the internet, is when talking about the Gothic subculture, people go, well, actually, it's hundreds of years old, the Goth subculture. And they're talking about like the Gothic peoples from ancient history. And if I wanted to add to that a bit, because I know a bit about history, I could say there was also the Ostrogoths and the Visigoths. But these peoples, they were early Germanic tribal people, and they've got nothing to do with Gothic subculture whatsoever. Gothic subculture that Goths are into was formed between 1978 and 1982. So, you know, the Gothic peoples from history, as in Goths, Visigoths and Ostrogoths, nothing to do with Gothic music subculture whatsoever. Now, to me, that's a bit like saying metal culture, as we all know, as in the metal subculture. Or metal was formed, you know, in the 60s or 70s or whatever it was. I'm not an expert on metal. But then you might get someone and they've done a quick search on the internet, and then they've gone, well, actually, the first metal band was in AD 874. And what they've read is actually a blacksmith made a metal band to fit round the barrel. So that's a bit like saying, like, trying to relate Gothic subculture to ancient Gothic peoples who were ancient Germanic tribes. So, yeah, it's a bit like that, isn't it? Yeah, the first metal band was actually formed in 872 AD, when they've read about, you know, a barrel band made of metal. So although it sounds the same, it's got absolutely nothing to do with the metal music subculture that we have today. And it's the same sort of thing, you know, when people mention ancient Goths as people. Now, there is a couple of other instances which, you know, they have got a bit more traction, and you've got Gothic architecture, you know, and that was way before the Gothic subculture. And you've got Gothic writing, which again was way before the Gothic subculture. Now, the thing with that is, people in the Gothic subculture, they can also and often do like Gothic architecture, and they often do like Gothic literature, such as Edgar Allan Poe. But those things were way before the modern Gothic music subculture. So, you know, although Goths may like them, they're not as in like part of the Gothic subculture itself, which is a music-based subculture. So the next thing that I wanted to talk about, which I have seen crop up some places, is the Gothic subculture just a white people's thing? And the answer to that is definitely not. Goth comes in all different race types, all different skin colours, all different ethnicities. You know, it's just one of those things, and I think it's wonderful that it does have such variety in it. I mean, in the UK, you do get people of different ethnicities, different races into goth, far more so in America. There's a lot more racial diversity in the goth subculture there. And, you know, if I, as a white Englishman, if I went to, say, Mexico City, I'd be in the minority as a white Englishman. So in Mexico, the goth scene is huge. And in Brazil also, the goth scene is huge. And there's so much diversity racially in Mexico and in Brazil. So, you know, I'd love to visit Mexico City and Brazil, because the goth scene is huge there. So yeah, there's all sorts of different types of people into goth, and it's amazing that it is. And I think the vast majority of goths are very accepting to all different people, and I think it's wonderful that goth is like that. I know, for instance, I'm pretty sure if I went to Mexico City, I'd be made feel very welcome over there, and that's one of the nice things about goth. I personally like meeting and chatting to people from all different races and ethnicities. I love it. I mean, growing up, one of my uncles is Jamaican, so I've got 3 mixed race cousins, and we grew up together. It was just a normal thing, and my uncle used to drum in a reggae band, and as a kid we used to see his drums set up, but they were packed away most of the time in the garage, and we used to ask him questions about drumming and stuff, and I think that's what actually sparked me to be interested in making music and starting doing bands and stuff, was that, you know, anyone can have a go at it. So another thing I'd like to talk about is age in goth. Is there an age limit on it? No, not at all. If you think about it, like a gothic subculture, that's like a tribe. So, you know, if you've got a tribe of people, just because you get to a certain age, you're still part of the tribe, but you're an older member of the tribe, like the term elder goths. So we're all part of the same tribe, and there's no age limit on it. And there's no age limit when you get into it. I mean, you can get into goth into your 30s, 40s, 50s and beyond. I mean, for me, I was into punk from being a young teenager till I was about 30, and I slowly sort of merged and transformed into goth, which I suppose goth came from punk anyway. So for me, it was a very natural progression. So that was in my 30s. When I was about 30, I got into goth. So you can get into goth at any age, and you shouldn't let age put you off it. I mean, you hear so many judgmental things sometimes. I mean, I had someone going on in my comments once. I blocked the person, but they were going on about goths are all really old, and they're almost ready for the grave, and all this sort of thing. And it sort of totally ignored that there's so many young goths nowadays, and just people are really judgmental. I've had people saying, oh, you're too old to have a nose ring and stuff like that. And, you know, that's just their very small, tiny minds, because they're too scared to do anything different. So they lash out at alternative people. But anyway, who cares about them sort of small-minded people? You're better off without people like that in your life. So goth, anyway, it's a rebellious thing. It's about going against the norms of society, so a lot of the time. So, you know, don't let things like age put you off, not at all. So being a goth is about being part of the subculture, loving the music, meeting other people at gigs and concerts, chatting to others about bands. Music is like the currency or the lifeblood of the goth subculture, which keeps it going. That's why you can get some people who dress because they like gothic fashion and they dress in a gothic way, but they might not like the music. So it's always a bit difficult when I meet them and I think, oh, they're obviously into gothic music because, you know, they dress like that. And sometimes you ask them what bands they're into, and, you know, if they don't know any goth bands or don't say any goth bands, it leaves me a bit stuck as to what to say, as I can meet someone who loves the goth music, they support the bands, they go to the gigs, they go to the clubs, but they dress very normal and non-goth. So even though they don't dress goth, I could have an amazing conversation all night with them about bands and music. So just goes to say, doesn't it? And let me just point out that there's nothing wrong with people who like the gothic look and they like dressing gothic without loving the music. That's totally fine. But being part of the gothic subculture, which is music based, is something different. That's the only thing to note. And You know, obviously at first, when you first get into a subculture, especially if you're younger, you might not know loads of bands, and it's perfectly fine to ask other goths. And, you know, lots of goths love to help younger people who are getting into it, telling them about bands and stuff. And you might get the odd, like, 1 in 100 who's just an idiot and, like, for their own reasons, whatever personality problems they've got, they might not want to help you or tell you about goth, but just move on to the next person if you come to someone like that. So the next thing I wanted to talk about is the internet thing, which is like goth girls, and you get people, they're kind of stealing from the goth subculture for kudos, or because they think it's a bit cool. Then they like steal from it the image, the way they dress and the makeup, and many of them are not even into goth music at all. They're just, you know, trying to tap into this cool vein. And a lot of the stuff that they put out, it can be very misleading, like try to say goth girls act in a certain way, in a very sexual way. So when you get all this going on TikTok, YouTube, etc., of goth women being portrayed as always kinky, always over-sexual, and easy to get, it puts out a really bad image of goth women. And the truth couldn't be much further away from what these people are portraying. Now, if it was just all harmless fun and it wasn't, you know, causing any problems for anybody, I wouldn't even care about it. I don't even watch TikTok, it's not my thing, but I mainly hear about this from other people and goth women. And the idea is if there's so much of this going on social media, then the general ideas of the general public, men in the general public, will be believing these false ideas of goth women. And then goth women, the real goth women from the subculture, get a hard time for it. And it makes things more difficult in life for them, you know, than it would have done otherwise. The actual truth is goth women are really picky about who they choose, and the vast, vast majority of them, who they actually like and who they actually go for, is goth men or goth women. So, you know, it's so far from the truth, these ideas that are being portrayed on social media. Ridiculous, really. But what isn't ridiculous is the hard time that real goth women from the subculture get because of this. So I'd just like to say a big thank you to all my subscribers. Really means a lot, guys. I really appreciate it. I've got 5,000 now. I've gone past. Wow. So cheers. Mucho gracias. So I hope you guys didn't mind staying in with me today while I've had this chat video. If you did enjoy it, don't forget to give us a like and a subscribe. It really helps grow the channel. And until the next video, don't forget, be different, stay weird, and stay free. Bye now.